There's a quiet kind of peace that comes when you no longer need anyone's permission to live your life. You wake up in your own space, make your own choices, move through the world by your own rhythm. It's not arrogance. It's ownership over your time, your dreams, your energy. For many people today, that's what love of self really means. Not vanity, not isolation, but freedom, the freedom to be the author of your own story. Marriage, for all its beauty, often asks for compromise. It blends two lives, two plans, two futures. And for some, that merging feels less like unity and more like erasing parts of who they are. We've been told that love means giving up pieces of ourselves, but maybe real love, the kind that lasts, begins when we stop abandoning ourselves to keep someone else. The rise of the sovereign self isn't about rejecting connection, it's about redefining it. It's saying, I can walk beside you, but I will not disappear inside you. That's not selfish. That's sacred. Because the person who knows how to stand alone is the one most capable of choosing someone freely, not out of need, but out of truth. For generations, life followed a script. You were born, you went to school, you found a job, you got married, you had kids. That was the map, the promise. And if you followed it, you were told you'd be happy. But something happened. We grew up watching that promise break in the arguments behind closed doors, in the empty smiles at family dinners, in the silence between two people who once loved each other. We learned that happily ever after doesn't always come with a ring. Now, many of us are standing at the edge of that old map and realizing it no longer leads anywhere. The world has changed. We don't need marriage to survive financially. We don't need a partner to be accepted. And for the first time, we're asking, what if I write my own story instead? What about you? If you could rewrite your life script, free from what society expects, what would your story look like? Tell me in the comments. I'd love to hear it. It's not rebellion, it's awakening. It's the quiet courage to admit that the script we were handed doesn't fit the life we want. Maybe love doesn't have to mean giving up yourself. Maybe family can look different. Maybe fulfillment isn't a single destination, but 1,000 small choices that make you feel alive. And so, one by one, people are putting down the old script and beginning to write their own. When you tell people you don't want to get married, watch their faces. There's always that pause, a flicker of surprise, maybe even concern. They ask, why? And underneath that question is something heavier. What's wrong with you? We grew up inside a story that says marriage is the ultimate proof of love, the finish line of adulthood, the measure of being enough. So when someone chooses not to marry, the world rushes to explain it. They must be scared. They must be selfish. They just haven't met the right one. But what if none of that is true? What if choosing not to marry isn't a wound, but a form of wisdom? Because fear doesn't look like peace, and selfishness doesn't sound like someone quietly building a life that feels true. Sometimes people say no to marriage not out of avoidance, but out of deep respect for what love should really be free, not forced. Maybe they watched their parents fall apart and thought, I won't repeat that story. Maybe they've built a life so full, it doesn't need to fit into a single definition of love. The truth is, society needs these myths. It's easier to label what we don't understand than to question what we were taught to believe. But slowly, gently, that's changing. Because more and more people are realizing you can be committed without a contract, loving without ownership, and whole without a wedding ring. And maybe that's not rebellion. Maybe that's evolution. There's a quiet kind of peace that comes when you no longer need anyone's permission to live your life. You wake up in your own space, make your own choices, move through the world by your own rhythm. It's not arrogance. It's ownership over your time, your dreams, your energy. For many people today, that's what love of self really means. Not vanity, not isolation, but freedom, the freedom to be the author of your own story. Marriage, for all its beauty, often asks for compromise. It blends two lives, two plans, two futures. And for some, that merging feels less like unity and more like erasing parts of who they are. We've been told that love means giving up pieces of ourselves. But maybe real love, the kind that lasts, begins when we stop abandoning ourselves to keep someone else. The rise of the sovereign self isn't about rejecting connection. It's about redefining it. It's saying, I can walk beside you, but I will not disappear inside you. That's not selfish. That's sacred. Because the person who knows how to stand alone is the one most capable of choosing someone freely, not out of need, but out of truth. For many of us, the story didn't start with love. It started with silence, the kind that fills a house after the shouting stops. We were children watching two people who promised forever, and slowly stop looking at each other. We learned early that love can turn into distance, that a home can feel like a battlefield long after the war is over. That experience leaves a mark. Even if no one talks about it, it shapes the way we see commitment. It teaches us that marriage isn't just a celebration, it's a risk. A coin toss with everything on the line, your heart, your money, your peace. And so, a whole generation grew up cautious. Not cynical, just careful. We saw how easily love can collapse under the weight of expectations. How divorce can turn two kind people into strangers. How the dream of forever can cost years of healing. So, when people today choose to stay single, it's not because they're afraid of love. It's because they remember what happens when love turns into survival. They want connection, but not at the price of losing themselves. Maybe that's not fear. Maybe it's wisdom born from witnessing too much pain too young. We don't talk enough about that quiet generation of observers, the kids who became the adults, who now say, I just want peace. They aren't running from marriage. They're running toward safety, toward emotional stability, toward a kind of love that doesn't end in pieces. And maybe, in a world still obsessed with forever, choosing peace is the bravest thing you can do. There was a time when marriage was survival. Two people joined lives because alone, life was too heavy to carry. But that world is gone. Today, many of us can stand on our own. We earn, we save, we build. We pay our rent, buy our food, make our choices. And with that independence comes something powerful: identity. For women especially, money is no longer just about comfort. It's about safety. It's about not having to stay where love has turned cold. It's about knowing that freedom isn't a dream, it's something you can afford. And for men too, the rules have changed. Success is no longer measured by how well you provide. but by how well you understand yourself. The balance of power that once defined marriage has shifted, and not everyone knows how to live inside that new story. So, many people are simply choosing not to risk it, not to merge bank accounts, not to gamble half their life's work on forever. Not out of greed, but out of respect for what they've built with their own two hands. It's not that they don't believe in love. They just believe in keeping the foundation steady, so that if love comes, it rests on freedom, not dependence. Because sometimes protecting what you've created is the most honest way to love yourself. If marriage is no longer the center of life, then what takes its place? For many, the answer isn't another person. It's something quieter, softer, more personal. Some find it in friendship, the kind of bond that doesn't fade when romance does. A best friend who becomes your family, a platonic soulmate who knows your silence better than your words. Others find it in purpose, in the work that gives them meaning, in creating something that outlives them, in helping others heal in ways they once wished someone had helped them. And some find it in stillness, in mornings alone with coffee and sunlight, in the joy of knowing that peace doesn't require witness. We were told that love had to look like two people under one roof. But maybe love can look like a group of friends holding each other through hard nights. Or like a woman rebuilding her life after loss and saying, "I'm okay now." Maybe love isn't a ceremony. Maybe it's a practice, a way of showing up for yourself and for others every day. The truth is, fulfillment hasn't disappeared. It's just diversified. We're no longer waiting for one person to complete the story. We're learning to build many small stories, each one beautiful, each one enough. Love begins long before we ever fall for someone. It starts in childhood in the way we were held or not held, in the way we learned what safety feels like or what it costs. Some of us grew up believing love means chasing, always reaching, never quite being enough. Those are the anxious hearts. They crave closeness because, deep down, they fear being forgotten. Others learned that closeness hurts, that love can be unpredictable or consuming, so they built walls instead of bridges. Those are the avoidant souls, the ones who stay just far enough away to feel safe. And then there are the secure ones, the ones who have learned, through pain and healing, that solitude isn't emptiness, it's grounding. They don't need to prove their worth through partnership. They don't hide from love either. They just meet it from a place of calm, not fear. That's the quiet shift happening today. Many who choose to remain single aren't avoiding intimacy, they're redefining it. They've stopped seeking someone to complete them because they already feel whole. Maybe that's what real security looks like, not building walls, not losing yourself in someone else, but standing open and steady in your own peace, ready to love, but never needing to be rescued. This movement didn't happen in silence. The world around us changed, and slowly it began to make room for people who walk alone. A generation ago, being single at 30 meant whispers, pity, judgment. Today, it can mean confidence, choice, freedom. The labels have softened. The word alone no longer sounds like unwanted. Our culture built the path for this shift. We live in the age of therapy, of podcasts about healing, of self-help books that tell us, know your worth. We're surrounded by language that reminds us it's okay to protect our peace, that we don't have to live by our parents' rules to live a meaningful life. Technology changed the story too. We can build connection without a shared address. We can travel, create, find community in ways that don't require marriage. The digital world, for all its flaws, gave people permission to design their own version of belonging. And maybe that's the quiet gift of this era. We're not rejecting love or family. We're simply realizing that there are more ways to belong than one. A ring used to mean you were chosen. Now, being at peace with yourself means you already are. This is not the death of tradition. It's the birth of something new. A culture where connection isn't measured by vows, but by authenticity. Maybe this isn't about fear or rebellion or giving up on love. Maybe it's about something quieter, wholeness. Choosing not to marry isn't a rejection of love. It's a gentle recognition that love already lives here, inside you. It's the moment you stop chasing completion and realize you were never half of anything. Some people build homes for two. Others build gardens within themselves. Both are beautiful. Both are valid. Wholeness isn't about staying untouched. It's about knowing you can share your heart without losing your center. You can walk beside someone without disappearing into their shadow. Being single isn't waiting. It's living fully, freely, consciously. So maybe the goal isn't marriage or solitude. Maybe the goal is peace. To reach a point where you can say, if love finds me, I'll welcome it. But if it doesn't, I'll still be whole. Because real freedom isn't the absence of love, it's the presence of self. If this spoke to you, if it made you pause and feel seen, tell me your story in the comments. How do you define love and wholeness today? And if you want to keep exploring the quiet parts of the human heart, subscribe. Let's keep growing, healing, and finding peace together.